Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you an anti-spoiler video and another 2v2 matchup with actually me playing as one of the players. I am the blue Terran player spawning here at what I'll call the 5 o'clock position. My partner Let's spawning as the red Zerg. This is random 2v2 teams, so I do not know what my opponent's strategy or my partner's strategy is going into the battle. One of the things I don't like about 2v2 random team, though, is that you can actually get paired up against people who are sitting next to each other and already have a set strategy going into the game. So that is always a little bit of an uphill battle that you're trying to fight against. We can see an early probe now making his way out from Zan, but I'll try to focus more about me and my thought process and my game style in this particular matchup. Now, whenever I'm facing a Protoss and a Zerg matchup, I know that the most early aggression will be coming in from Zerglings and Zealots. Zerglings and Zealots is a very, very deadly combination in the early portion of the game because, one, it's very easy to mass, and two, it's very difficult to stop with just Marines and Zerglings. So what you want to do, or what I'm going to be doing in this particular matchup, is going for reactored Hellions. You can see I'm going for a refinery first. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to build my barracks, and as soon as my barracks is done, I will have enough gas for a factory immediately, and then I can also start building a reactor shortly thereafter. And the reason why it also works out, especially in Terran and Zerg teams, is that if you do get a lot of Hellions, 9 times out of 10, one of your opponents may try to get some Stalkers or Roaches or Marauders. Your Zerg partner can easily train up a lot of Zerglings to support your Hellions. The Hellions are then there to do hit and run tactics alongside those Zerglings, as the Hellions can get in front of your opponent's retreating units, slow them down, and then the Zerglings can come up from behind and just slash them in the back. Barracks now being built over here. Taking a look at the other players' bases, pretty standard builds already. Spawning pool, extractor first into a spawning pool, so it looks like we are, he actually went spawning pool then extractor. So he's not going to have enough gas for metabolic boost just quite yet. Meanwhile, Zan now getting that cybernetics core and also going for a very early second assimilator. So we'll see what his strategy is for there. I do have a rather large ramp, so I will be building another supply depot here in order to finish off the wall in. I am building a reactor, and I'm assuming that my opponent knows exactly what I'm trying to do, since he does see a factory being built right next to a barracks. And if he clicked on there, he would know that it is in fact a reactor, that one drone taking a bit of damage there. And now finally able to escape away. The drone now coming in on the far side, and Zan, who's supply locked for a little bit of time, not quite sure why he didn't even start researching that warp gate a little bit earlier, since he was supply locked, has a lot of energy on his Nexus. Back over here, you can still see Zerglings are being trained. It looks like a hatchery most likely will be placed down here in just a moment, as one, I've already played this match, and two, Zerg needs to get more hatcheries, especially if they're trying to train up a lot of Zerglings, as you definitely need the increased larva count. Hatchery now being built here. You already have the swap here, double Hellions, as there is now an extractor just in place, sitting down over here, blocking up one of my gases. I'm not all too concerned at this stage, as I'm only training up Marines and Hellions. I'm still collecting gas, as I know that I want to get into Banshees eventually, as Banshees are a very, very powerful, strong unit. I also want to make sure that my Hellions are not revealed by this extractor, as I want them to try to get some damage onto Zerglings instead. You can see a large number of Zerglings already making their way out, as a starport now being built. I'm now training up even more Hellions. And Hellions are just very effective against Zerglings, if you did not know, especially if you have other Zerglings to help you in that battle as well. So that one Zergling quickly getting surrounded and destroyed already, and a probe now looking to perhaps set up some proxy pylons and warp in additional units and get some more damage as well. Zerglings now quickly making their way out across the field. However, that one pylon is revealed by this one Xel'Naga Watchtower, so that's a very curious position for it. As soon as they activate that Xel'Naga Watchtower, seeing this pylon, that probe is going to get destroyed. And that's one thing that you should be wary of. Never build a proxy pylon like this within range of a Xel'Naga Watchtower. If you do that, as soon as your opponent captures that Xel'Naga Watchtower, it's going to quickly be revealed and it's going to get destroyed. Now Hellions on the move. So these Hellions looking to just burn up the army, the Zergling army here. And there is not that many Stalkers out. So this Hellion army could deal a lot of damage very, very easily army-wise. Only an army of Hellions now making their way out. And now the Zerglings are going to be trying to push and do a battle back and forth. The Hellions now need to be very, very careful though, as trying to torch some more units over here. You can see the Zerglings over here getting a lot of, taking a lot of damage there. And now trying to get as much damage onto some of those other Banelings as well, as Banelings are very, very effective against Hellions if they are uncountered. Hellions, once again, pulling away the Zerglings. Do not move faster, as I can completely torch a large number of Zerglings over here and continuing to battle it out still. Zerglings and Stalkers are now trying to make their way through. Let's going to lose a couple of his Banelings here. I try to toast some of those drones, but there are no drones yet at the natural expansion, so unable to get any serious damage at all, as my Hellions are once again in full retreat. But I am training up Banshees. I'm training up Banshees, and I will be starting to get that cloaking research as well. As you can see, the Zerglings are now trying to get damage onto the Stalkers. I should be trying to come in and also offering some support as well against those other Zerglings. And now you can see damage being dealt across those Stalkers. Stalkers are just getting torn apart there, as the Hellions need to try to torch the rest of those Zerglings, and more Zerglings are taking damage continually. Banelings now being morphed into play. The Hellions trying to come back over, offering support once more. Doesn't look like a lot of support will be offered, and just a lot of microing between these battles, but I am not relenting in my macro. And as you can see, I do have some resources saved up, but I am still training up Banshees continually and also trying to expand at the same time, trying to keep up in terms of this heavy macro game. A lot of Hellions are currently sitting in the back. And army-wise now, I am sitting pretty at this point, 1,200 resources versus 1,400. My partner has been sacrificing Zerglings so far, but he has been able to deal a lot of damage. Taking a look at the losses, I am the lowest in losses. Meanwhile, my partner is the highest, or not quite as high as the other Zerg player in losses, so we are definitely winning out in this battle. As the Banshees are getting added, I wanted to come as a complete surprise. Banshees are able to get a lot of damage against Stalkers, especially if there's no observer nearby, and they are also very, very good at detonating Banelings before the Banelings get within combat range. That's the other reason why I want that. Zerglings and Banelings quickly trying to come in over here. Banelings now coming in. Banshees now quickly come in and now getting some damage onto those Stalkers. And I think the Stalkers realized that I do have Banshees nearby, and those Banshees are just going to get some damage onto some of those other units. The Banelings actually choking up some of those Stalkers from being able to escape, as the more Zerglings are just continuing to just push their way through. Banshees able to get one shot onto those Banelings, as the Banelings did take one round of attack from those Hellions. And now, with no observers just quite yet, I'm trying to get some damage here, perhaps get some damage onto the Spine Crawlers. If I'm able to take down the Spine Crawler and that hatchery, a lot of damage could be dealt, but the Stalkers quickly going to come over, focus down one of my uncloaked Banshees that didn't have that much energy, and the units are in retreat once more. So I know that my Banshees are currently low on energy. They're not going to be able to stick around in battle for that much longer. Quickly decloaking them and trying to reevaluate my strategy now. Marines and Marauders also making their way out in this battle, and production-wise, just never relent. You can see a lot of resources I'm sitting on right now, but I'm also trying to increase my production as much as possible. A lot of 2v2 games comes down to macro more than micro. If you're able to continually train units while you're in a fight, and after the fight is over, you'll have a much larger army lead than your opponent, and because of that, you can re-engage much more quickly. Banshees quickly going after those other units and now getting some damage onto the Stalkers over here. The Stalkers, however, do have an observer nearby, and now my Banshees are going to be forced to uncloak. There is one observer still trying to come in there. My Banshees are going to take some damage. One Marauder running straight into that group to try to slow down those Stalkers, as the units are in full retreat. And now my Hellions, lots and lots of Hellions looking to do even more damage. No Blue Flame research just quite yet, as now Banshees are going to be fighting back. So Banshees and Hellions, SCVs coming off the mineral line, and now SCVs joining in, but all those SCVs going to just completely get destroyed. But because I do have an expansion up and running, that does help me out, as I'm still able to double train SCVs. you can still see that I'm trying to keep up on top of my macro, trying to stay up on top of my game still, as the banelings are still sacrificing themselves in order to get more damage here, and now continuing to move out once more. Another hatchery trying to be rebuilt, but Leeds' hatchery going to get easily destroyed by the Zerglings as it's poking away once more. Losses: 2,500, 3125, 3627. I'll show you guys the APMs as well. My APMs perhaps the lowest, as I try not to spam that much, and now going into engineering bays to offer myself missile turrets and shoot down observers, as the missile turret will only be able to target that observer, and then my Banshees will be able to get free range once more. Banshees, there are still a large number of Stalkers here. Zerglings and Queens now down over here as well. I do not have a large enough army to really counter that. Not the right combination of units, as the Hellions now try to make their way out. Broodlings now poking apart at the rest of those Zerglings, and now another push going to be coming in here. Still nothing happening at this hatchery over here, so I am still the only one that's mining off of additional mineral patches, as the Marauders and the Hellions trying to make their way out. Banshees are still in the air, offering a lot of anti-protection and killing off many of those Banelings before the Banelings get within combat, as SCVs are coming in and trying to repair as those Banshees as well. But yeah, SCV is repairing and trying to keep this whole entire mech army alive as quickly as possible, repairing this once more. So this has just been a giant tug-of-war battle, as we are now going into a Spire by my partner. So the Spire means that we should be getting some more Mutalisks into play, and those Mutalisks are going to be much, much more helpful, as Banelings are now trying to find their target. Perhaps the Banelings should just try to sacrifice against this hatchery over here. This hatchery is already low on hit points, and I think there's enough Banelings to actually finish it off. The Banelings now trying to run straight into this group, and it looks like they're going to be able to detonate against those drones very easily. You're not quite sure why they're not detonating yet. Going after drone, just into moving, and able to get a lot of damage onto those drones there. You can see the harvester count now 30, 47, 15, and 29. So very, very low harvester counts for the other team, 15 and 29. I myself have more SCVs and more harvesters than the two of them combined at this point. SCV is mining away, income, a significant advantage for our team there. You can see the harvester count as this game now rolls on. 115 food army versus 2777, and then my partner is sitting at 44 over 50. And back over here, I will be getting up another factory in just a moment, as I realize, hey, if I'm going to invest this heavily in the Hellions, I might as well be going for that blue flame research as well, constantly trying to keep my opponent off guard. I do have double starports, so double starports mean that I can start training medevacs as well without getting a reactor. I also know that my main base is starting to run out of minerals. You can see already down to 6 mineral patches. So I will be building another command center and lifting it off and landing it here. You always want to be aware of that. And now my Hellions are moving out to try to see if they can deal any additional damage towards the economy lines. Very nice play by Zan, making sure that there are gateways here to prevent any run through on this very vulnerable mineral line there. I am also getting the Terran ship upgrades, as well as, since I'm so heavily invested in the Banshees, I might as well have my Banshees deal more damage. So if you did not know, the Banshees deal 2 damage more per attack. That is a significant amount, especially as you get into larger and larger numbers. With this amount, I essentially deal 16 damage more per attack and am able to kill units off even faster, getting the level 1 weapons and armor upgrades, and just trying to macro up and trying to play a little bit more conservatively with the units that I have. Sitting at 163 over 185, a much more macro style of play at this point, as now an army of Stalkers and Colossi on the move. You can see that is a very devastating army that I'm going to have to try to deal with in just a moment, as the Stalkers are now making their way out, and the Zerglings trying to just morph into Banelings as well to try to deal damage towards the mass Marines and infantry. My army here of Hellions and Banshees and medevacs, Banshees quickly coming in. There is one observer nearby, as the Banshees are now going to simply come into this location here. A lot of the Banshee, or a lot of the Stalkers already getting soaked up a lot of the damage from the Banelings, and because of that, the mass Banshees are able to finish off the rest of this, and now the Banshees are going to be able to just completely give chase and finish down Colossus after Colossus, Blue Flame research now underway. The Banshees could continue the pressure and then just try to run over the opponent. Now you can see the Hellions also looking to get some additional damage as the Blue Flame research about halfway completed. So far, Banshees quickly coming in, even with Stalkers nearby. The Marauders and the Marines and the Banshees quickly destroying Colossus and Stalker time and time again. The Banshees, because they are able to stack up on top of each other, have a higher DPS damage than the Stalkers. So the Banshees, by grouping together, are able to deal a lot more damage. Marauders now coming in, and the Marauders finishing off the ground forces as well. Probes trying to join in on the fight, but that's not going to work out very well at all, as the mass Banshees that are now level 1 weapons upgraded, able to simply destroy this Nexus over here and continue to push their way through. So a very large army there, and then San says GG. So, and that's the game. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this 2v2 replay. If I was to say to focus on anything on this particular 2v2 replay, it is never relent in your macro. 9 times out of 10, macro in at least 2v2 replay will beat micro, just because the battles are so much shorter. When you have so much damage potential coming in from both sides, micro doesn't matter as much, because micro is all about longer battles, trying to lengthen the life of your units by from 5 to 10 seconds, from 10 to 20 seconds. If you micro your units in battles such as this, if you're trying to blink Stalkers away, if you're trying to retreat and do tactical hit and runs, or trying to do stutter steps, at most you'll gain about 2 to 3 seconds of extra life, as opposed to keeping up with your army size. You can still see at this stage in the game, I'm not even that great in terms of my macro. I still have a large amount of gas. I could easily be training up more Banshees at this time, more Hellions. I could easily be training up, 3 Hellions and a Siege Tank as well, and also researching more off of my armories. So one of the things that I still need to work on, but yeah, this game was a definite macro advantage as opposed to any real true tactical play. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 2v2 replay and one of my own games. Yeah, and stay tuned for more games from the Clan War Season 1. I plan to be doing a dual cast with Force Strategy for StarCraft tomorrow, Tuesday, sometime around 3 to 3:30, just as I am live casting this now. It will be a best of 3 matchup, so a best of 3 matchup, 2v2 matchup, so those should definitely be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this 2v2 replay.